Dear students, again you are most welcome to this session of today. I am V.N. Misra from Sadhguru Inter College, Samara, Barabanki. And dear students, as you know, we were studying the lesson from the Hornbill book. We are not afraid to die if we can all be together by Gordon Cook and Ellen East. And today we are on the second and the last part of this lesson. Dear students, the opening lines of this part are: by morning on January 3 up to the last, afraid to die. As students, you know, we will follow the same pattern, means up to 8, the pattern I have followed, the same pattern will go until the end. Means I will explain the text in detail, and the explanation of the difficult words and phrases will also be given to you, and the important questions and answers including multiple choice questions I will also introduce you. Dear students, the narrator started his voyage from Plymouth with his wife Mary, daughter Suzanne and his son Jonathan in July 1976. Actually, he wanted to repeat the record of Captain James Cook, who had established this record 200 years ago. Let us recall the first part with the help of the world map. So let us go to the world map. Dear students, look at the map. Here, Plymouth, and the narrator started his journey to this route and he came up to Cape Town. This is Cape Town at the pinpoint of South Africa. Listen to me very carefully. Here he took 2 crewmen named Larry Wiesel and Half Segler. Then they sailed in Indian Ocean. You see, this is Indian Ocean, as they had to go to Australia. But what happened? They celebrated Christmas and now the weather became very bad. Here the weather became very bad. His boat was hit by a strong sea wave and now they were struggling for their survival. And their mayday calls were not responded, means their mayday calls went worthless, means emergency calls and messages went worthless. Up to 8 we have read. Now pay attention. Here is Isle Amsterdam and St. Paul's Isle, St. Paul. These 2 islands lie here. They are very important. You must remember the names of these 2 islands. Now dear students, let us resume the text we have to read today. Now dear students, look in your textbook. By morning on January 3, the pumps had the water level sufficiently under control for us to take 2 hours rest in rotation. Means now the water level was reduced because of pumping and now they could have rest one by one. But we still had a tremendous leak somewhere below the waterline. Still there was a leakage. On checking, I found that nearly all the boat's main rib frames were smashed down to the keel. He found that the frames were smashed. In fact, there was something holding up a whole section of the starboard hull except a few covered partitions. Means except a few covered partitions, he had nothing to fill this leakage. Therefore, it was very difficult for him to stop the coming water inside the boat. We had survived for 15 hours since the wave hit. Now 15 hours had passed since the wave had hit their boat. But wave walker couldn't hold together long enough for us to reach Australia, but it was impossible for him to reach Australia with this damaged boat. I checked our charts and calculated that there were 2 small islands a few hundred kilometers to the east. In the east direction, there were 2 islands the writer found. One of them, Isle Amsterdam. One of the isles was Amsterdam. I have shown you in the map just a minute ago. Dear students, listen to me very carefully. It was a French scientific base, means at Amsterdam there was French scientific base. Our only hope was to reach these pinpricks in the vast ocean. Now there was only one thing with the narrator, and it was to reach Amsterdam anyhow. Pinpricks in the vast ocean, these small islands looked no bigger than a small pinhole. But unless the wind ceased abated, we could hoist sail. Our chances would be slim indeed. Means if there was not flowing of wind, their chances were almost nothing to reach the island. The great wave had put our auxiliary engine out of action. His supporting engine was not working. On January 4, after 36 hours of continuous pumping, means he had been pumping continuously for 36 hours, we reached the last few centimeters of water. Means now only a few centimeters of water was left inside the boat of the narrator. Now we had only to keep pace with the water still coming in. Means now he had to reduce the pace of the coming water. If he could manage only this thing, the things would have been easier for him. We could not set any sail on the mainmast. It was impossible for him to set any sail on mainmast. Let me show you the figure of a boat and explain you some of the most important terms related to ship or a boat. Now dear students, the figure of a boat is there on your screen. You can see this longer pole. This is main mast. This is main sail. This longer portion is main mast, and this one arrow is given here. This is main sail. This one is beam. These are cabins, place to sit in. This point is, I have told you so many times. Remember, if you can, this is stern, the back portion of a ship or boat. This is rudder. It is used to steer the ship. This is keel. And this portion arrow is given. This is hull. In this way, dear students, you have seen some of the important words regarding a ship or a boat. These words will occur so many times in the lesson. Therefore, listen and understand them very carefully, and if possible, take them down in your notebooks. Now dear students, come up to the portion weaver. Means I have told you and shown you in the figure what a jib is and a small sail is. A small sail or jib, almost the same thing. Therefore, it was impossible for him to hoist main jib or main mast. Only a small jib or small sail could be used. Pressure on the rigging would simply pull the damaged section of the hull apart. Means if there would have been large pressure on these ropes, rigging means ropes, certainly it would damage the main hull apart, means the main outer structure of the boat. So we hoisted the stern jib and headed for where I thought the two islands were. Therefore, he used a small jib, means a small sail, and proceeded towards the direction he had thought about these islands. Mary found some corned beef and cracker biscuits, and we ate our first meal in almost 2 days. After 2 days, they found a little breakfast which was offered by his wife Mary. Next para. But our respite was short-lived. At 4 p.m., black clouds began building up behind us. This rest period was not a long one, because there were again black clouds. Actually, these were not black clouds, but these were sea waves that were coming to hit the narrator. Within the hour, the wind was back to 40 knots. I have told you, not speed in the sea. And the seas were getting higher, means the sea waves were getting higher. The weather continued to detract throughout the night. The weather went on becoming bad to worse. And by dawn on January 5, our situation was again desperate. Up to 5th January, again they were in very troubled situation. When I went in to comfort the children, John asked, Daddy, are we going to die? His son, John, here refers to Jonathan, his son, asked him, means asked the narrator, if they were going to die. I tried to assure him that we could make it. The narrator tried to assure his son that anyhow he was able to manage it, means he would manage it, means manage the bad situation. But Daddy, he went on, means Jonathan went on saying, we aren't afraid of dying if we can all be together. You can see these lines have become the title of this lesson, and you can simply think how prudent, how cooperative, and how good this boy was, whose name was Jonathan. Under this situation, he helped his father, saying that he was not afraid if he was with his family. You, mummies, you and I, if all the members of the family are together, he was not afraid to die. I could find no words with which to respond, but I left the children's cabin determined to fight the sea with everything I had. Means the narrator had no time to answer these words, means to answer the words of his son Jonathan, but he had only one thing in his mind, and that was anyhow he had to face these challenges and overcome them. To protect the weakened starboard side, means right side of the boat, I decided to heave to, means he decided to repair it with the undamaged old hill facing the oncoming waves, using the improvised sea anchor of heavy nylon rope and two 22-liter plastic barrels of paraffin. 22 liters plastic paraffin he had, and other so many things he had, means some of the damaged things he had in the ship, with which he tried to repair his boat. Means the narrator tried to repair his boat. That evening, Mary and I sat together, holding hands as the motion of the ship brought more and more water in through the broken planks. We both felt that the end was very near. Means the water was continuously coming inside the boat, although its speed was very slow, but still they were in danger. They were not out of danger. But Wavewalker rode out on the storm, and by the morning on January 6, with the wind easing, I tried to get a reading on the sextant. Sextant is a distance measuring instrument back in the chart room. The writer again tried to calculate the distance of this island, Amsterdam. I worked on the wind speeds. He also calculated the speed of the winds and the difference that was between his sextant, means the instrument, and the winds. Changes, of course, he also calculated those changes, means the sextant was defective. Therefore, it was not accurate in measurement. Therefore, he calculated the differences, keeping in mind drift and current in the effort to calculate our position, means he estimated his actual position. The best I could determine was that we were somewhere in 1,50,000 kilometers of ocean looking for a 65-kilometer wide island. He calculated that he was about 1,50,000 kilometers inside the sea. When I was thinking, Sue, moving painfully, joined me. Means Suzanne came to him, his daughter Suzanne came to him. The left side of her head was now very swollen, and her blackened eyes narrowed to slits. Slits means cuts. His black eyes had now become only a small slit, means only a small cut. She gave me a card she had made, means she gave a card which she herself had made. On the front, she had drawn caricatures of Mary and me with the words, "Here are some funny people," means in that cartoon card she had written, here are some funny people means here are some funny people. Did they make you laugh means have them make you laugh. I laughed a lot as well. It was written there that she had laughed lot as well. Inside was a message and there was a message short note. Oh, how I love you both. So this card is to say thank you and let's hope for the best. Somehow we had to make it. This was written on the card and the narrator says that somehow he had to manage it. Now, before proceeding towards the next para, let me explain you some difficult words and meanings. Now, dear friends, look at the board. These are some of the difficult words and phrases which you have read in these paragraphs. I have taught you just a minute ago. Isle Amsterdam lies in the southern Indian Ocean. Take them down in your notebooks. Pinpricks in the vast ocean means small islands looked like pinholes in comparison to the huge sea. Rigging means ropes, especially to tie a ship, etc. Deteriorate, doing wrong. Once more I tell you the spelling. D-E-T-E-R-I-O-R-A-T-E. Deteriorate, doing wrong. Improvised, handmade. And sextant is a distance measuring instrument. I know that you have taken down in your notebooks. Now, before we proceed further, let me ask you a question. Now, dear friends, the question is, how did the narrator make a temporary anchor? Just a minute ago, I have taught you in the paragraph that the narrator used 222 liters paraffin barrels and some other broken things of his boat, and thus he made an anchor, means temporary anchor. What is an anchor? An anchor is an instrument which is used to slow the speed of a boat or a ship, or to stop a ship or a boat. Now, let us come up to the next para. I checked and rechecked my calculations. We had lost our main compass and I was using a spare which had not been corrected for magnetic variation. Means now he had no accurate compass to find out the distance, to find out the direction. Compass is used to calculate the direction, right direction. Therefore, there was variation in the actual direction and the direction that was indicated by this compass. I made an allowance for this and another estimate of the influence of a westerly currents which flow through this part of the Indian Ocean. Means the difference that was made by the winds that flows in the Indian Ocean. This difference was calculated by the writer, and this difference was removed so that he might find out the correct direction of these islands. About 2 p.m. I went on deck and asked Larry to steer a course of 185 degrees. If we were lucky, I told him with a conviction I did not feel, he could expect to see the island at about 5 p.m. Means now it was the hope of the narrator that he could find this island Amsterdam at about 5 p.m. by steering his boat at 185 degrees. Then with a heavy heart, I went below, climbed on my bunk and amazingly dozed off. Now the narrator climbed on his bunk and he slept. When I woke, it was 6 p.m. and growing dark. Means now it was 6 p.m. and it was dark. I knew we must have missed the island, and with the sail we had left, we couldn't hope to back into the westerly winds When the writer woke up, he thought that he had crossed this island and now it was impossible for him to return. At the moment, a tousled head appeared my bunk. At the same time, he saw a head which was untidy, means untidy and disturbed hair head. Can I have a hug? Jonathan asked. Actually, this was the head of Jonathan, his son. He asked if he could hug his father. Sue was right behind him. His daughter Suzanne was standing just behind Jonathan. Why am I getting a hug? Now I asked. The narrator asked why he was having a hug. Because you are the best daddy in the whole world and the best captain, my son replied. Means the narrator's son replied that the narrator was the best daddy and best captain of the world. Not today, John, I am afraid. The narrator said that he was not so. Why, you must be, said Sue in matter of fact voice. You found the island, but Sue repeated the same sentence saying that he was the best father, means her father was the best father because he had found the island. What I shouted, the narrator was amazed. He said, what? It's out there in front of us. They chorused, means together they said that there was island before them as big as battleship. Just like a battleship, means the island looked like a battleship. I rushed on deck and gazed with relief at the stark outline of Isle Amsterdam. The writer looked at this island. It was only a bleak piece of volcanic rock. Actually, it was nothing else but a volcanic rock, a piece of volcanic rock with little vegetation, means very little vegetation, means very little greenery was there, means the plants were in small quantity here. The most beautiful island in the world. Now this was the best island and the most beautiful island in the world for two reasons. First, the island itself was beautiful, and secondly, this was the resting place for this family now. We anchored offshore for the night, means for whole of the night. They stayed a little away from this island, and the next morning all 28 inhabitants of the island cheered us as they helped us ashore. Means next day they landed the shore, and the inhabitants, means the residents of that island, received them, welcomed them. With land under my feet again, when the writer felt ground under his feet, my thoughts were full of Larry and Herbie. He was thinking of Herbie and Larry. Who are these persons? Think and tell me. Larry Wiesel and Herb Segler. These two persons were taken by the narrator at Cape Town. Very good. Cheerful and optimistic under the direst stress. Under these conditions, they remained hopeful and cheerful. And of Mary, the narrator was also thinking of her wife Mary, who stayed at the wheel for all those crucial hours. She had also helped the narrator under those adverse circumstances. I thought of a 7-year-old girl. He also thought of her girl, Miss Suzanne, who did not want us to worry about a head injury, which subsequently took 6 minor operations to remove a recurring blood clot between skin and skull. Skull means bony structure of head. Of a 6-year-old boy who was not afraid to die. Means now the narrator was thinking of all these persons, especially his son Jonathan and his daughter, who had a great injury in her head, and later she had go through an operation 6 times. Then the clot was removed from her head. In this way, this family struggled hard to survive themselves and overcome those difficulties. Now, let me tell you some more meanings. Now, dear students, these are some of the words which you have read in these paragraphs. The first one is tousled head. Be careful. E silent. You have not to pronounce E. Tousled head means an untidy and uncombed head. And bunk, sleeping bath. Volcanic rock, a rock formed from lava. What is lava? Lava is the material of volcanic eruption. Then bleak, desolate or desert. Larry and Herbie. Actually, these are not words. Larry and Herbie, these are not words. These are the names of the persons. In short, the narrator has said Larry refers to Larry Vigil and Herbie refers to Herb Stegler. Herb Stegler and Larry Vigil joined the narrator at Cape Town. Very good. I think you must have learnt this lesson very carefully, listened every word carefully, and now we will proceed towards some of the questions related to this lesson. Therefore, once more, take your pens and diaries or notebooks to take down these questions. Dear students, the question is, how was the narrator saved from wave hit? Your answer should be thus: the huge wave hit him fiercely. The boat was about to capsize. His head was dashed against the wheel. The second wave made his boat upright. He grabbed the guardrails. Then he was tossed around the deck. Somehow he found the wheel and kept on holding it. Thus the narrator was saved. Dear students, such questions I have taken so many times during our teaching. Therefore, let us consider some of the multiple choice questions. Now, dear students, these are the questions on the board I have written. The first question is, December 25 found them 3,500 kilometers east of Cape Town, west of Cape Town, north of Cape Town or south of Cape Town. I know that you know the answers of these questions. I have to only verify them. Therefore, I verified east is the correct answer. Second one, Sue or Susan had a leg injury, head injury, hand injury, chest injury. Very simple answer. You still remember head injury. Third question is, the first disaster came at about 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 5 p.m., 8 p.m. 6 p.m. is the correct answer. You know, the narrator saw or reached Amsterdam at 5 p.m., 6 a.m., 6 p.m., 9 a.m. 6 p.m. is the correct answer. Last two questions have the same answer. 6 p.m. means the disaster came at about 6 p.m. and the narrator reached Amsterdam at 6 p.m. Now, I would like to put one more question for your self-practice. Now, dear students, these are some of the words which are for your self-practice and you have to use them in your own sentences, but pay attention in other sense apart from SIP terminology. Means you have to use these words in your own sense. Not, stern, boom, hedge, anchor. Dear students, I know that you have listened me very carefully, read the lesson very thoroughly, and now, as you know, our UP government has done sincere efforts for your study. You can watch your study material on Swayam Prabha channel, Diksha YouTube channel launched by UP Secondary Education. So many thanks for watching us.